Hola!
Hey, welcome to You're So Fucking Enlightened.
And we are so fucking glad that you are here.
We are. This is a not so serious approach to all things spiritual. And I forgot what episode it is today,
Me too.
but it'll be on our video.
Yeah. I'm Jeanie Baker.
I'm Robbin Webb. Thank you for joining us. We have an exciting topic today, but first, how the fuck are you?
I was a little bit tired earlier. I'm feeling good now. Took a shower, washed my hair. That always feels really nice. We have sunshine today. I have my last week of my manifesting course tonight. I'm going to take my dog for a walk after this. How about you?
Sun, man. Yeah, the sun is a game changer. I think we both came here to Florida because of that. I'm back on my smoothie shit. I can't seem to drink these when it's like cold and gray. Like I just want soup versus something frozen. I also have blueberry as evidence on my shirt. But other than that, yeah, like I'm doing very well. I noticed when the sun's out and I look in the mirror in the bathroom, I noticed so much more silver here, and I was like, I'm like really here for it. Like I'm ready.
Get it.
Yeah.
Get it. I about 3 years ago I stopped coloring my hair. I started going silver at 14, and so now
Yeah.
gotta let
beautiful.
gotta let the magic out.
Mine will take a lot of time if it ever gets to that point, but mine's going to be more of a salt and pepper look for a while. But I'm here for that too.
Yeah. So today we're gonna talk about. I think that's gonna be our new intro.
Okay, the little
wave.
Yeah.
Why do words matter? Why do words matter?
Words matter, and we're going to talk about this from a few different angles because, like, you were immediately when we talked about doing this podcast, you thought about it from a totally different angle than I thought about it from. But we both agreed with, like, I also think about it from your angle as well. Exactly. But like the first thing that came to our minds was something different. So I think it's fun.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this with you, because it's so nice when we all show up in our own belief systems, in our own thoughts, and our own feelings, and also create a space, which goes back to our first episode of like what spirituality means for us. It's like being open, being one, like listening to other people's perspective. Yeah. And that, like,
not believing that our way is the only way.
Exactly. Yeah. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, same. So, like, we'll just start with what we mean by when we talk about words. Why do words matter? And we're mainly talking about this, I think, from like a spiritual perspective, not like a linguistic or higher education perspective, that sort of thing. But like, it's more about spiritual and just what do we mean when we're saying the word.
Yeah.
That was hard for me to get out of my mouth.
I love that. So for me, why words matter is I am of the belief that everything is made from energy. And so if you also share that belief, then we have to look at this more deeply.
Yeah. But when we're talking about, what do we mean when we say words? What we're talking about is words. And I think we meant like the words that we
think.
Yeah.
The words that we verbalize, express.
Yes.
The words that we write down on paper.
Yeah.
All the fucking words
that we say to ourselves, to others, that we think about ourselves, that we think about others, that we write. That was we didn't even talk about that one. That's a good one too, because we live in a fucking social media world. So we're writing things all the time too. Yeah. And we, a lot of us are journalers. If you're in the spiritual world, you might be journaler. So that's important too. So that is what we were talking about. We're talking about words.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And just for clarification, for
sure. Yeah. And if you're of the belief that everything is made of energy, then this podcast is going to invite you to bring in a deeper self-awareness to the thoughts, the words of your thoughts, the thoughts of your words, however that is, and the words coming out of your mouth and how you communicate first with yourself and to others. And, I want to bring up an example that showed me early on in life. I didn't start practicing this until a while later, but in high school, I had a friend who would say, I don't want to marry a redneck. I don't want to stay in this podunk town. I don't want to have a bunch of kids. I don't. And guess what, friends? Everything that she claimed that she doesn't want to have, don't want to have, that is her life.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what manifested. And so this is why we're talking about it from a spiritual perspective, that words matter, because words equals manifestations. Words equals energy. Words equals power.
Yeah.
So your words is a direct reflection of your reality and what you manifest.
For sure. Yeah, because when we're not just talking about words that you verbalize, we're talking about words that you think.
Everything.
And I think it's Mike Dooley. I really like, because he really like drills this into you. Thoughts become things.
Yes.
And that, and it's like, if she was giving that so much power, she was giving that, even though it was like the opposite of what she wanted, she was still giving power to that, so much power to those thoughts and intentions.
Yes,
like she invited
energy.
me in.
Yeah, it's energy. And
Yeah.
for me, you know, what that gave me was in high school, in my 20s, when all of that manifested for her, I was like, huh. I mean, I remember having that thought, like, wow, Jeanie, like everything that she claimed in high school that she didn't want has manifested in her life.
Yeah.
And I probably didn't use the word manifested because I don't even know if I had that word in my 20s.
It just came true. That's something you would say.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like, you know, it's been over this time for me to learn about my words. And then in my early 30s, I used to, you know, say things that I would never say now. You know, my husband, in my opinion, became hateful. And I used to call him like, you're so hateful. You're so hateful. You're so hateful. And then in my early 30s, I was like, Jeanie, like, you're fucking giving that power.
Yeah.
Like, so he's mirroring that back for you. Stop fucking saying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when I moved to Costa Rica, like 37, 38, is when then I started really practicing. Really practicing taking out words that are different than what I want to manifest.
Yeah.
Words that more claiming of words. I can, I will, I do, I am.
Right. Yeah. It's a totally different energy for those words. Some might say that, you know, using the words can't, don't, shouldn't, wouldn't, or something like I should have, or, you know, those
I need to.
I need to, have like a different energy. They may have more of a negative connotation than the, you know, I will, I am, I can, I do,
Feel.
all of that stuff. So yeah, I love that. And I started, like, for me, and let's get something straight here. We still do these things sometimes. We are not, like, when we're saying these words to each other, or when we're saying this to you, like, we are still, like, I mean, well, I can only say for myself, I am still guilty of sometimes saying these things. The difference is now that I catch myself when doing it and I flip the script. However, I did not start really paying attention to what I said or what I was saying in words and how they were affecting my energy until, I don't know, it all happened like yoga. It all happened with yoga, because with yoga, some like to say it's the art or the science of paying attention. And you start paying attention to everything you do if you practice yoga long enough. I don't care what. You just start paying attention to your words. You start paying attention to your actions. You start paying attention to how you feel and how your body feels. And that is how this came up for me. I just started and I started noticing a different energy. I also started listening to, and this was kind of before she blew up really big, but I started listening to Gabby Bernstein, and she really helped me to understand also, like, the intention behind your words and the thought and your thoughts and that sort of thing. So that's how I started paying more attention to my words.
Yeah.
But like I said, like, I still, like, it's not that I like don't ever say like I should have done this differently.
Right? You're like,
you know?
you're like, I haven't mastered this.
I have not mastered it, right? I mean, I feel like this might be like a lifelong thing for me, and that's fine. But it's just a matter of like now, most of the time, I'll say 90% of the time, I catch myself doing it, and I say, I'm going to change the way I said that, or I'm going to change the way I thought that, or how can I do this differently?
For me, what I notice about myself is I'm really affected by the power of words by the people I hang out with. And so I have a really good practice of the claiming. I've been doing this for a while, have it. And when I get around certain people that have these words and they use the words, I start speaking that, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, fuck Jeanie. Like, I know better.
Right.
And then you're like, okay. So then
because we mirror each other as humans. 100%. It's natural. Yeah.
And so even being where, we brought this up in another podcast. Like, who the fuck are you hanging out with?
Yeah.
What's the vibe?
Yeah.
How are they speaking to themselves?
Yeah.
Right? Because what I know for sure is the words that come out of our mouth are a percentage of what's in our brain. And so if we look at that, right?
A pretty small one.
A really small one.
Depending on the person.
So if someone is really basically talking shit all day about themselves or others or whatever, what the fuck's going on in their brain?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, well, one, we start here, but I think in this practice, when you start, you hear yourself, right? You bring self-awareness to the words first, right? And then you're like, fuck, man. And then you notice it, and you notice it, how many times you do it. I remember I used to say don't and can't and shouldn't and all this.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, I still use I need to do this, right? So, and then I watch that because that's a promise to myself, right? Versus like, I need to, go to the gym 5 days a week if that's for you, right? Versus like, oh, I need to create a different routine for myself at night, in the morning, whatever that is. But it's also a promise.
Yeah. There's, and the way you could phrase it as I'm working on doing this, or I am in the process of figuring out a better way to do this. Like those are other ways of saying something that I should do this, or, that sort of thing. So, and it holds a lot of power. And I'm going to bring up a specific example of one of my friends, who also very, very casually talks a lot about, like, negatively a lot about her appearance. And she said to me the other day, don't kill me. You know who you are. I'm not going to say her name. She said to me the other day, and it really stuck with me. She said, my eyes disappear when I don't wear eyeliner. I mean, just think about that for a minute. Like, no, okay. First of all, there's no way that's like physically impossible. I think maybe what she meant was like, my eyes aren't as noticeable when I don't wear eyeliner, but like, that holds a totally different energy, like my eyes disappear when I don't, and it's just like, that is a pattern. And she's not the only one. Like, there are so many women that do this. We're so guilty of being really hard on each other, men as well, not just women. Lola Bird wants to come and say hi.
Before this podcast, right, you watched something that charged you about how women specifically are talking about themselves and their body image.
Yeah. And
the words that they're putting out in the world.
I mean, it was a girl on social media, and she was looking for recommendations for Botox and lip injections. And I have to be very careful because I'm like, let me preface this by saying none of this is judgmental. It's a curiosity of why women want these things. And I know why. Why women want these things is because they have insecurities about the way that they look because of the society's the way that we view aging, the aging process for women and men too, but mostly women, because we're the ones getting all this shit done to our face. And so it did trigger me because I've gotten to a point now where I get very upset when people don't love themselves. And I'm not saying that she doesn't love herself, but she clearly is not happy with the way that she looks.
Right. And so even talking about words or power, even saying she doesn't love herself versus saying
she's working on loving herself. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even noticing that observation, but it really comes back to the principle of what this podcast is about.
Right.
About how words are power.
Right.
And so if she is putting this on social media.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine the thoughts going on in the head.
I know.
Yeah. And this is really what we're talking about today.
Yeah. That it does, like, it, I don't know, I probably need to contemplate on that a little bit more and meditate on that a little bit, because it really, like, it got me. And there were a lot of comments saying, I do Botox, I get lip injections. And like, I meet all these women that are getting this stuff done. And all I can think about are our daughters and what this message sends to them. And I think about like the Kardashians and Beyonce and how like I'm not saying, like, I went to the fucking Beyonce concert. It's not that I dislike them, but this is a message that we're sending to our daughters, that we can't be happy with the way that we look.
Mm-hmm. Which comes back to our thoughts make a difference. Words are power. And how are we being an example to our younger selves? And I feel like, like with emotional intelligence, I know like when I was younger, like me and my best friend used to be like, hey stupid, right? I used to do that, right? And then in my 20s, that became a different energy for me. And I remember having a conversation with her because I moved away from our hometown. And as soon as she picked up the phone, she's like, hey stupid. And I was like, yo dude, like, I want to shift that. I want to change that because I'm starting to learn that words are power, and I want to, like, let's call each other something else.
Right.
Like that's what we did.
Something with a different energy behind it.
Yeah, and I feel like as we if we choose a self-discovery path, a self-awareness path, then it is up to us to then evolve in that, change with that.
Right.
And that also means that we change with our emotional intelligence. So what maybe didn't make a difference, right, in the energy that it held at one point in our lives may make a difference to the energy that it holds later.
Right. And that brings us to, like, also, like, this is and so far we've been talking about how the first thing that came to Jeannie's mind when asked about why words matter. The first thing that came to my mind, which I found really interesting because I also fully believe what came to your mind first, like equally as important as mine. But the first thing that came to my mind was, we're going through this thing with society right now where the political correctness or the cancel culture or whatever, like, we have to be very careful about what we say. So, and I don't give a shit like what anybody thinks. Like, I'm just going to talk from my heart for this. Like, while I think that it has gotten a little bit out of control, the cancel culture and just that whole thing, what we need to consider is the intention behind the words that are being said in society, or the history behind the word. And I think I brought up the example how now we're not saying master bedroom anymore.
Primary bedroom.
Because, and then I'm sure there are people that are like, oh, we can't say that anymore. And why do things have to change? Change is hard. It's fucking hard. I get it. And why did we call it the master bedroom?
Right.
I think we all know why it was called the master bedroom.
Right.
So how does it affect your life by having to make a little bit of a change in your language? probably this much, because you just have to like sometimes think about it, or maybe like 1% because you have to think about it a little bit differently. So like, and if you say like master bedroom, because like sometimes it just spills out of my mouth too. We've been doing real estate stuff for a long time, so sometimes it just spills out of my mouth, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I mean primary. Not a freaking big deal. You just said the wrong word. Nobody's going to come after you,
and you took responsibility.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So let's not attack one another when we want to change the language of something. Let's explain the reason and the feeling that you get when it's said. And if somebody says, fuck your feelings, tell them the fuck off.
Exactly.
Yeah. We got one of those flags in the neighborhood.
Yeah. You know, and because I feel like your perspective on that also leads into, you know, I have a brother who's transgender, and it is where, you know, I've had deep conversations with him, like, you know, this is new for me, and so if I say something that's different, or you want me to say something else, let me know. Right. Because when I do women's retreats, right? So I market that. Hey, ladies, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
If you are not of the identification of a lady, that's okay for me.
Right.
I'm not marketing to you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But if you're my friend and you were born with a vagina and look like a woman to me, but now you want to be called they or them, or something different, tell me.
Right. Right.
Tell me.
Right.
Right.
And when I fuck it up, don't get mad at me. And I think that's kind of where we've gotten in society now.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of people are really upset about it, but it's just the intention and the charge behind the word. What, you know, like, it costs you nothing to do the kind thing, even if it might be a little bit inconvenient for you, because you have to give it one little extra thought.
Right. Right.
So so my whole thing was like words in society and why they matter, and how we can be a little more conscious of like the intention behind some of the words that are said in our human world. To an extent, because like I think when it comes down to the cancel culture, it's like nobody should be getting canceled unless their intention is malicious. Then they should get canceled.
Well, we're all gonna fuck up,
right?
Like, so I feel like also like that also, I mean, it's like another topic of perfectionism. Like that doesn't fucking exist. But it's like where I feel like my perspective, your perspective comes down to communication, right? And so it's a communicating of our thoughts, of our words, and then the intention behind it. Yeah.
Okay. You also wanted to talk about the ingestion of words, not just the words that are generated from us, but the words that are generated from other people that we're ingesting.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Like, you know, so there is one thing about our thoughts, right? Our words coming from ourselves. That is first awareness. Also, when you start to do that, it will start to trickle in what you ingest. So, what you ingest on TV, what you ingest from your friends, what you ingest on social media, what you ingest in general. And so, I want to kind of layer this a little bit. So I went to lunch with some acquaintance friends a few years ago, and we were about 5 minutes into this person berating herself. And I'm trying to flip, right? Bring awareness, flip. Not happening. And then everyone's pain body is just like, everybody's feeding it, right? I'm just sitting back and I'm just listening. For about 5 minutes. It was about as much as I could tolerate. And then I hit the table. Bam! To like bring attention to people. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? I said, yo, dude, do you hear? I don't understand the words coming out. Do you hear how you're speaking about yourself? Like, if you're going to continue to do that, I'm going to need to step away. because there is no way I'm going to listen to you talk shit about yourself. I'm just not. That is a choice. That is a boundary that I make for myself.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's a whole thing. Because what it brings down is if someone is speaking like that verbally continuously, how much thoughts are going on in that context. And for me, there's one thing, you got to honor your feelings. And also, which is like another thing about social media, the news, movies, books, whatever that is. Like for me, all books are theories. And so when I go in to read a book, I always tell myself, like, okay, Jean, this is someone's theory. Mm-hmm. This is someone's perspective. Yeah. Like, please only allow the energetic cord.
I guess if it's a nonfiction book, because if it's a fiction, you already know that it's.
Oh yeah, so I don't read those. Okay. So please only let the energetic chords like come into me that serve my highest self, because it's all perspective.
Yeah,
it's all theories. And so it is also with movies. Like I think a lot of us have different tolerances for different types of genre movies.
Yeah.
Like I can watch something super violent if it's based on a true story because I know that it happened. Like it's super interesting to me. Uh-huh. But if it's something just goes straight on violence, I don't want to watch it. Like if it's fiction.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just it's really fine tuning the layering of the ingestion. So if you so I like to watch TV when I eat. And, I love Wheel of Fortune. Mm-hmm. And so that for me is like, it's easy to digest, mm-hmm. right? So versus like, if I'm going to watch a movie that may be a little different, I've got to watch that as well, mm-hmm. because all of that digests us.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone that I care about recently was telling me that they were having trouble sleeping because they had ingested so much content from the about the war that's happening right now.
Yeah.
What's going over there in Israel and Gaza, that whole thing. And they said that they could not sleep because they kept picturing the images that they, So, you have to be very careful about things like that because it affects us and the energy. My advice to that person was, there's like a parable about the wolf. I don't remember it, but I'm going to remember it. But it's a parable about like, what are you going to feed? Are you going to feed the love? Or are you going to feed the fear?
Yeah.
And so, I think that's just something to think about. What we ingest. I mean, and that sort of goes, we can go down a whole rabbit hole of how the news feeds us fear and feeds off our fears, mm-hmm. and that whole thing. But so
yeah, that'll be another one we'll talk about. So I have one of my best friends lives in Israel, and several months ago when different things started, also I had a conversation with her about it, mm-hmm. because it was like she had the news on 24/7, mm-hmm. and it was like there has to be a moment where we pause.
Yeah,
like in general.
Yeah.
And so even like, so my mom passed away when I was 27. Mm-hmm. And so it's so interesting. Around her death day, I'll usually choose a movie that I don't know the mom's going to die, and the mom dies. Mm-hmm. And so as I'm ingesting that, I would say to myself, okay, for this hour and a half or 2 hours, this is what's coming in, and then I'm done. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just watching, just being aware, because for me, if this is new to you, then the first part is self-awareness. Uh-huh. Bam. And then if you are already in self-awareness, then it is redirection. Uh-huh. And then if you're already in redirection, then it's like, what areas are still showing up that my words, uh-huh. right, are different that I want to claim in the world. And that's something, so I also want to use the word but, B-U-T. Mm-hmm. So I work with a lot of women.
UTT?
Yeah, baby. I love it. We did that actually before.
Yeah, we did.
Speaking that ass a little bit.
Mm-hmm. You know who we need to talk about? That our friend that kept saying sorry.
Oh yeah, so we're talking about that too. Yeah. So BUT but is is basically canceling out everything that you just said. So, for instance, I work with a lot of women in a lot of different ways, coaching and retreats and trauma healing and inner child. And so we work with a lot of like parent wounds, parental imprints, right? And so let's say we're getting into the mother part and I've worked on my own healing with my mom. And so something that a lot of people say is, like, oh, my mother hurt me, blah, 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 when she did this. But I still love her. So no fucking shit. So this is where I say, no shit. But what happens is when you say, but, you just invalidated your own fucking feelings. And think about that. Think about how often you are invalidating your own feelings.
Yeah.
And so we can use the word and to replace that.
Because both things were true.
Because both things were true.
Yeah.
My mother hurt me and I love her.
I still love her. Yeah.
Yeah. My mother hurt me and I'm willing to heal from that. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
So watching as you kind of move through life, are you in validation of your feelings or invalidation?
Yeah.
And then you can start to shift that using and.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired and I'm still going to go out. I'm tired and I'm going to rest. Right? Whatever that is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get into the word sorry.
Oh yeah. There. So we have a mutual friend that has a habitual pattern of apologizing, just like constantly apologizing, and
we're talking about apologizing everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
She said, like, we were going around the table, like, saying our names for this event, and she said her name, and then she was like, sorry. And I was like,
right.
What you sorry for? But so this is sort of an extreme case. This is sort of an extreme case. So,
but I think it's good.
But because it is good to use it, because we still, like, even if we did half of what she does, like, that's still, like, probably negative. We probably could change that up a little bit. So let's talk about the word sorry and, like, why we apologize so much.
Well, so I had a conversation with her.
Yeah.
Right. So at the end of the day,
what does that come from usually? Sorry.
Oh yeah. So sorry. I'm constantly apologizing. So there's two things. If you fucking harm someone, fucking apologize. I mean,
obviously, we're not saying don't ever say.
Right. But this is just having that over here. But and so this is where it's an imbalance of the solar plexus. It's where the ego actually takes over more, and other people's feelings matter more than yours. Yeah. That is the direct root of that.
Right.
Which goes into worthiness and valuing yourself, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm sorry is because I've hurt you or I've harmed you, right?
Yeah.
Versus, I noticed this more when I moved to Costa Rica. I was in the grocery store with my cart and I was trying to maneuver around some people, and I was like, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I need to get by you. And they're like, fucking tranquilo. Like, and I was like, what the fuck, right? And then I learned after living there for some time, they don't apologize for that. You just move and do what you need to do. But we live in a society where we're constantly apologizing for things that are outside of being hurtful, outside of being harmful.
Yeah.
And so notice that, right? So even if you're in the kitchen and your partner is with you and you like just bump them a little bit and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry. What are you fucking apologizing for? Yeah. Right? Just little things like that. Because
you can sometimes say, excuse me, if you've bumped a stranger or something.
But excuse me is different from I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah. And so this is where if you are one who is in I'm sorry all the time, then we've got to look at how you value yourself.
Yeah.
How you feel about your worthiness on this planet to exist, which goes back to why words matter. Because when you stake your claim here, so claim yourself on this planet, claim yourself walking on this earth, doing whatever it is that you want to do, claim it. And this is really an invitation from us to be in self-awareness, to redirect, and to claim what you want versus what you don't want.
Right.
Bam.
Yeah. So like that brings us to like how do we change? And excuse me. Also excuse pardon Butch, who is staring out the door right now because all he wants to do is go outside. Mm-hmm. But we can't really have the door open because it just becomes an in and out of the dogs, and they'll hear something and they'll he's just whining, just live show here. We can't really edit that out. So just go with that.
He's a cutie boy too.
He is. He loves to lay in the sunshine. Who doesn't, right? Well, I guess not everybody, but most of us do.
Yeah.
So we can really just go back to like the example that we gave to our I'm sorry friend, like our the advice that we gave to our I'm sorry friend, which was it's just like starting to know, like just noticing is the first step. You don't even have to do anything about it.
Right.
You don't even have to. Also, don't like look at it as a curiosity versus judgment, because I think that we're already so hard on ourselves. Why do we want, we don't need extra judgment on ourselves for doing this. Just be curious. Like, oh, that's so interesting that I'm doing that and saying that so much. I wonder where this pattern came from. That is the energy for that, to make it a healthier way of looking at things. And then it's just baby steps. It's just noticing it and being curious about it. Yeah. First step. Yeah. Don't even change anything. Don't even change what you're saying, like until you're ready to start changing it, and then just change it one time. What one thought per day can you change, or what one word can you change per day? Instead of saying, I should have done this, you can say, I'm working on doing this. Or, you know,
I feel like that is a beautiful way to start. It's about one word at a time.
Yeah.
It is
one thought, one word. Yeah.
And that's where you go.
Because then it just, like, once you start paying attention and you even just notice that one, you're going to start notice someone else when they say it, and you're going to start noticing it more and more and more. And then you'll start making little changes, and that is how that whole snowball effect happens. And you, in pattern strain, you start to break patterns.
Yeah. And this is about, you know, for me, I love the word curiosity, right? And it's also like curiosity versus judgment. Mm-hmm. For me, I really speak about like where more love and energy can be directed towards. Mm-hmm. And so if I have a pattern of I can't, I shouldn't, I don't, I blah, 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 then more energy and love can be redirected towards what I want, what I can, what I do.
Yeah, the opposite end of the spectrum of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That for me, like, you know, we are all here walking on this planet together, learning and unlearning every single day, and really understanding, like, as I believe, like, the longer we walk on this planet and we journey together here, what it is that we want, who it is that we want to hang out with, what vibe, you know, we are attracting for our tribe.
Yeah.
Like all of that.
What is it? Something that we really didn't talk about too was what starts to happen when we do change our words and our thoughts. Like,
well, when people get pissed off, let's just talk about that. Because you don't feed that shit anymore. So if you're hanging around a lot of people and you guys are constantly doing that, people, I'm just going to tell you, they ain't going to like it.
Yeah, because, well, they're not going to like it because you're triggering their own insecurities and their own patterns and their own shit, and they're not aware of. And two, I write about this. I wrote a little ebook that is called The 3 Steps to It, or 4 Steps to Enlightenment. I can't remember, but I wrote it. And in one of the steps is, I think it was the oh shit stage of this is when you're, sometimes people fear waking up and paying attention and becoming more mindful, because what that means is it's going to challenge your relationships that you have.
Damn right.
And people don't want to, and that is loss when you lose a friendship or when you lose a partner or when you want to change. So it can trigger a loss. Okay, so we'll start with the things that like you might not expect to happen, and that is one of them. One of them is you're going to piss people. You might very well piss people off.
Yeah. And the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to fucking love yourself more.
Yeah.
Bam.
And what happens when you love yourself more?
Is that you learn how to communicate differently in your thoughts. You learn how to communicate differently in your words. You stake your claim on this fucking planet and start to live with more intention and more purpose.
Yeah.
And more joy.
Yeah.
And more love.
And you can also start to create a life that is more aligned with love and who you really are at your core.
100%.
Yeah, because if you have patterns of not appreciating and loving yourself, or negative thought patterns, those sorts of things, then your life is going to be the life that you're looking at right now is a product of that. And chances are, if you have a lot of these negative thought patterns, you might not be 100% happy with your life. And so what happens is the energy, you change the whole vibration of around you.
Yeah, of everything.
And so when you're vibrating at like this higher vibration, you're inviting higher vibration things into your life. You're inviting friends that love themselves and love you and look at the world through a lens of love and positivity and encouragement. And those are going to be the people that you start to attract. And then you're going to start to attract, and whatever you want to attract, you're going to start to attract. So,
well, you're going to be manifesting what you want versus what you don't want.
Right. Right.
Which also, I'd like to bring more of a close of the invitation. It's something I've been sharing with a lot of people. Like, the universe doesn't give two fucks. Like, it's a super neutral energy. Like, all of this out here is like, you hear like, oh, the universe, fuck, blah, blah, blah. The universe is, no. The universe doesn't give two fucks. What happens is, it's invitations. Life is constantly giving you invitations, and then it's just asking you what choice you're going to make. And so if we can also look at that too, that life is consistently giving you invitations. That's it.
Yeah. And what
are you going to choose?
And opportunities and learning opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I love this.
Yeah. So it was a good talk. I would love to hear like feedback from people about if this resonated with anyone that has watched or listened. Like, leave a comment or send us a message. Our email is yoursoenlightened@gmail.com, and let us know if it resonated with you, or just give us your thoughts. I'm just curious.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And if you want to connect with us one-on-one, we've got our websites, we've got our Instagram and Facebooks on here, and we would love to support you in any way that we can in our wheelhouse.
Yeah. And also subscribe to our channel.
Por favor.
Please. Thank you.
Yeah, so much love. Words are power. There's intention behind words. There's energy behind words. And so go out today, wherever you are in the world, and start to bring awareness, start to bring some shifts, start to bring some curiosity into this practice.
Yeah. What she said.
Love you.
Bye.
Ciao.